Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Systems for Sanity. I'm your host today, Wes Ulmer, and I have my guest today, Dr. Nitasha Strait, and she is with the Better You Institute. So, Natasha, if you could tell us a little bit more about what you do and what your business does and how you help people.
Hi, yes. Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here. So, yes, I am the owner of a private practice in Philadelphia, the Better You Institute, and we do psychotherapy with individuals, couples, families, and groups sometimes. We do one-on-one 50-minute sessions, or we do more like of the intensive type work. So that's 2, 3, 4 hours sometimes. We have clients who sometimes fly in and do the intensives and then fly back to wherever they were. So it's really exciting and getting to see like all of the change that from a client coming in versus when they're leaving. And that's like the big part or the big reason I think why a lot of clinicians do the work that we do is the outcome and getting to witness that change. And I'm sorry, you asked something else too.
Yeah, just a little bit about, what all you do. I think that's great that you personally get reward from seeing the improvement in the patient. One of the reasons I enjoy doing what we do on the technical side of things is you go in and you see a client is like, oh, this computer or this internet or whatever acts up all the time. It never works. That's what they always say. It's like, it never works, right? It works 90% of the time. It's that 10% that it doesn't work right. But that's when they blow a gasket. And if we can come in and help them to reduce that to like 1%, not getting those calls all the time from them and knowing that, hey, their day is a lot smoother now that they don't have technical hiccups all the time. That's rewarding to us. So same thing, like when you help these people from a mental side of things, get them going in the right direction or give them tools they can use to help improve their lives. I'm sure it's very rewarding to you. I mean, what kinds of different therapy do you guys offer?
Yeah, so we have a signature framework that I developed, and it's got 3 phases to it. So there's the awareness phase, which is essentially you're bringing everything to the forefront. A lot of the subconscious you're bringing to the conscious. So within that, like the evidence-based models that our clinicians tend to use are person-centered, narrative, psychodynamic, RLT, which is I don't know if it's actually evidence-based, but it's a pretty, like, famous one. You can get certified in it. So the Gottmans, everyone loves them with their statistics. So we pull in a lot of different models into each of the phases. So first phase is all about bringing things to light, and then you move into the second phase, which is like the change phase. That's really why people ultimately are coming to therapy is they want to feel different. And we really bring them into like a deeper level of shifting. So we're not just doing cognitive shifts, which is like CBT, DBT, but we're really focusing on the nervous system and helping them ultimately have like a visceral shift within them in the safety net of the therapeutic process. And then from there, we move them into the integrative stage, which is basically like, okay, we have all this awareness and we've made some shifts within ourselves in the safety of doing it with our therapist. Now, how do we actually like implement that to the real world? So, what are the conversations that I have to have now with my boss? Or how do I set boundaries with my partner? Or what does my self care look like now that I have this greater awareness for myself and I'm more attuned to myself? And again, within those 3 phases, each of the clinicians kind of pull from the different evidence based models. Like I would say at the end, it is more CBT, DBT, but in the beginning, it's more of the nervous system type models that we're pulling from.
How do you, because I know some people personally who have been going to therapy for quite some time, and I can't speak to the effectiveness
Sure.
of the therapist they're seeing,
Sure.
but I hear stories all the time about, oh yeah, it's like, hey, have you ever thought about, going to therapy for that? There's nothing wrong with going to therapy. It's healthy and it's a good thing to do. Oh yeah, I've been going to therapy for a couple of years. It's like, oh wow, okay. Any progress with anything? Or are you just going to air your grievances, be told what you need to do, and then do nothing about it? I mean, do you
So,
struggle with that sometimes with some patients? Like you like, hey, let's get the issues to the surface. Okay, we've identified the issues now. This is what needs to be done to correct them.
yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think there's different people who come into therapy wanting different things, similarly to like working out or, I don't know, building a computer for putting it into kind of your language, right? Some people want a gamer computer. Some people need a workhorse where they're going to be running a bunch of things. Same thing like working out. Some people want to lose weight. Some people want to tone up. Some people want to be able to lift really heavy and feel really strong. And so, similarly to therapy, some people want just a safe space to kind of talk things through. They're not really looking for major changes, they just need a space to talk. Whereas other people are looking for that like transformative work where they are doing a lot of like introspection and shifting things. Those are predominantly our clients. Not to say that we don't get the other clients. And also like motivational interviewing, which is a good kind of business model to look at, but it's also over on the psychology side where it's the 5 stages of change. And so if someone comes in the pre-contemplative stage, they're probably not gonna shift things or move a lot. Whereas someone coming in the change phase, they're ready to hit the ground running. So this person that maybe you've had conversations with and they've been in therapy for 2 years, they may have come in at the pre-contemplative. And now, as they've settled in and they're getting used to the process and they understand it, they're moving toward like a change phase. But also, maybe they just didn't want that. They just needed someone to kind of chat and talk about things, which I think, like, if you're going to be a client or you're going into, if you're thinking about therapy, you need to ask yourself some questions. And that's kind of one of them is like, what do I want to get out of this process? Do I want to change?
Right.
Do I want to feel better? Do I want fill in the blank? Or do I just need a safe space? I don't really have people in my life that serve as that support for me. And so that's kind of what I'm going for, and definitely teasing that out and asking that on those intake calls. A lot of therapists, at least in our area, do like free consultations. And so you really should be asking like, does what I want align with the work that you're able to give? Because that's the other part of this too, is like sometimes clinicians, they're on the side of like, yeah, I help people talk things through. I kind of shed some light on things, and then they go home and I go home. And if that's what the therapist's work is, great for them. But some clients need more or want more, but they just don't know that that's what they need, kind of thing. So definitely having a lot of questions in the intake process.
Yeah. Have you ever seen somebody for an extended period of time and just you can tell they're not implementing any of the
Oh yeah.
homework that you're giving them and you're just set them down and said, "What are we doing here?"
I have had that. Before we go there, though, I kind of say, like, hey, I'm noticing a pattern. Let's talk about that. Because they might not realize that they're even participating in the seemingly avoidant tendencies of, like, yeah, I didn't do the homework. Or it might be a passive thing where they don't feel comfortable yet enough to push back on me. That there's usually kind of like power dynamic that happens in the sessions. Like, I'm the know all professional therapist, all these things. But in reality, like I'm human and you're the expert of your own life. But sometimes people don't feel comfortable pushing back. And so if we open it up for discussion, then sometimes that comes out as like, oh yeah, I didn't think that that would help me. And so I just didn't do it. It's like, okay, great. Thank you for that. Let's reconfigure like what do you think would help you? And I can try to give you some things there. So it's always about a conversation first. But if I keep having those conversations and it continues to be a behavior, then yeah, I definitely have the conversation of like, hey, so like, here's what's going on. We've had these conversations. We've identified maybe some of the barriers. And so it's a conversation of like, maybe you're not ready for therapy. Maybe you're in a different mindset, or there's some other things happening that you need to focus on first. But I've also had people be like, yeah, that's where I'm at. I don't care. I want to keep coming. So we do. And I keep giving homeworks, or I stop giving homeworks and just kind of say, like, you do really good work here. We're not going to focus on what you do outside of here because we know that that's just not going to happen. So we try to make it case by case and form fit it to whatever the client is presenting with.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely have had some folks who kind of come and talk the talk, but don't walk the walk, so to speak.
Yeah, I mean, to me, if I'm going through something tough or difficult that's not comfortable, that I don't enjoy experiencing, I want to make efforts to avoid that in the future. I don't want to prolong the situation. When I was going through my first marriage ended in divorce, unfortunately, but
Mm,
I have a really good relationship with her now, and I'm glad I do. We co-parent very well together. The kids get to see that. The
it's great.
youngest one, as a matter of fact, when we were at Thanksgiving, we went around the table and we trade off with the kids, during the break. We'll go,
Yeah.
well, she goes to her mom's, at lunchtime, and I go to my mom's at dinner time and things like that. We trade the kids off and sitting there having dinner and the little one, Jackson, we're like, hey, Jackson, what are you thankful for? And he goes, I'm thankful for my parents' relationship. I was like,
Yeah.
that's really sweet. That's really sweet. We have a ritual with our team here at the company. We're very family oriented at our company, and we like to go do things as a group. And so we have a Wednesday dinner that we like to all go together to. There's a little Mexican food restaurant up the way, Mirasol. Anybody who's ever in San Antonio, highly recommend checking this place out. It's fantastic. If you love Mexican food and margaritas, it's definitely the place.
How are the enchiladas? That's my go-to.
Oh yeah, theirs are great. We go there on Wednesdays, and her my ex-wife, my ex-father-in-law, he passed away back in, I think it was like November timeframe or something. So kind of close to Christmas. I mean, never a great time to lose a family member, right? But the
Sure.
closer it is to holiday, that's
Yeah.
just even worse because it's like as you're coming up to that holiday, you're remembering, oh, this is when, my dad passed away or whatever. It's not a pleasant experience.
No.
I try to do as much as I could to, make it easier on my ex-wife. He was a very nice person, a great father-in-law when we were married, and her mom's always been very sweet to me. And I was like, hey, why don't you invite your mom out to Mirasol on Wednesday? She can come have a chispa with us, and my mom will be there, my stepdad will be there, my dad will be there, my stepmom. Like, make it like a family slash extended family affair, and
Yeah.
bring the kiddos, and I get to see the kids an extra day that week. And it was great just getting to chit chat. And Bonnie, my ex-mother-in-law, was so thankful. She's like, "Oh my God, thank you so much for getting me out of the house." And because the last couple of months when he was not doing well, she was kind of homebound, taking care of him. Even though there was a caregiver, she couldn't leave very long except to maybe get groceries
Sure.
and things like that. So she's finally past that and needing to kind of reintegrate with family and society and get back out and, being social again. So it meant a lot
Yeah.
to her. So it brought joy to me to be able to bring joy to her in her, time of suffering and need and whatnot. So
Yeah, I think people forget that there's so much joy in the idea of giving. And I also came from divorced parents who were best friends afterwards. Like my dad would drop us off and then he would stay for dinner, and my mom would have like baked goods ready and packed up to send him home with. And I only have fond memories of them. He has since
that's
passed.
awesome.
And my mom has said, like, we were never meant to get married, but we stayed good friends. And like, it really, after the divorce, it wasn't about us, it was about the kids. And
Yep.
I've carried that with me. And maybe that's why I've become a couples therapist, because I want to help folks kind of get to the level that you're at. And also, again, like, it costs you more physically, monetarily, emotionally, all the whole gamut, to
Yes.
hold anger and to be mean, essentially. Like, it is so much easier from a nervous system all the way to like monetary, just everything, to be like a joyful, giving, happy person. And I
Yeah.
know that's harder said than done, but there's a lot to be spoken on, especially, and not to get political or anything, like I don't want that to go this direction, but I think our society too is just so individualized. And if we really slow down and think about, and it does give us something. So even if we are putting it out there to other people, we're still getting something in return. But yeah, I think that goes forgotten a lot of times, or it's just so easy to not go in introspectively and think about your own stuff, but to place blame and to cast someone as a negative character
Yep.
in whatever experience that
Yeah, it's way
happened.
easier. Like, oh, they're the
Yeah,
bad person. They're the reason for all my problems, but
sure.
sometimes you need to look inside yourself and you'll realize that,
Yeah.
you are the one that controls your destiny. And yeah, there's
Yep.
outside things that can influence, but, ultimately you just have to kind of put your head down and plow forward and just keep, if you're at least moving in the right direction, things can try to move you off track, but you have to owning your own business is not easy. I mean, I've done it for 25 going on 26 years now, and it's hard. I mean, tell me a little bit about your journey and why did you decide to open up your own practice?
I mean, if I'm being honest, very individualized. Like, I didn't want to have a boss. So, kind of on the flip side of being
Yellow.
giving and joyful. Okay, there you go. Yeah, I was raised to be a leader, probably not on purpose, but that was the byproduct of my childhood. So being led by someone else is very difficult. And we use EOS, which is Entrepreneurial Operating System,
Operating system,
in
yeah.
my company, and so
Gino
I'm
Wickman,
very
right?
much. What's that?
Is it Gino Wickman or something who
Yep.
wrote it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
I've heard
so
good things about it.
it's so far it has been really great. We've been adopting it for about a year and a half now. And the book talks throughout, like the first couple of years, you're not going to do it perfectly. And we are absolutely in that state. But so yeah, to use that language though, I'm very much a visionary. I'm not really an integrator. I love coming up with ideas and mapping it all out. But then when it comes to actually implementing it or doing it, I'm less in that realm. And you're an employee of someone else, you're very much an integrator or in some cases like a pawn type of thing. And that's not me. I'm very much a
Yeah.
visionary for my work and my family and just everyone. So that's the main driver that got me into it. And I also just love teaching. And I knew that if I was the boss, I would have to teach or I would be put in a position of teaching. And so that's been really rewarding for me as well so far.
Yeah, I worked a couple corporate jobs, if you will, at several different places, but ultimately, was realized very early on, like 19 or 20 or so, and I was like, man, cannot, I can't do this long term. Like I have to, for better or for worse, be in control of my own destiny. Maybe it leads me someplace great, or maybe it's a big nothing burger, but I'll
Yeah.
figure out one way or the other. It's been a
Yeah.
long journey. I didn't I don't know how long you've owned your business, but when you own it for 20 something years, it sounds like, oh man, this guy must be on the top of the world by this time. No, I barely started making some actual legitimate headway, probably 2018 or so, and so
Mm.
the last 8 years, 6 8 years or so have been great. Like they've been a lot of upward momentum, and that's about the time that my COO came on board. So having the right people on your team and in the right seats goes
Yep.
a long way to drive your organization forward.
That's one of the 6 pillars of EOS is right people, right seats.
Yeah, that's a big deal. So
Yeah.
how big is your team? Who do you have on staff in either
Yeah.
fractional or full time?
So we're small. I mean, the actual like therapeutic team, there's 9 of us, and that includes 2 interns. So they flow in and out. We get new interns about every year or so. And then I have a lot of like fractional folks because I was realizing once I did the breakdown in the EOS, I don't know, system. That's redundant, but I realized like I am wearing several hats and many of them I either don't like wearing those hats or I'm not good at it. Like I didn't go to business school. I went to school for psychology undergrad and then got my master's and PhD for therapy. So I know the business of people, but I don't know the business of business. And so I finally gave myself permission to release some of those duties and it has really paid off. So I've got a fractional CFO for all the financial stuff. I've got a fractional CMO. I used to have an admin and we're working on getting that back in to do like sales and intakes and things like that. So, but it's been so freeing to offload some of those things. Like I thought at first, like, oh, this is fun. It's like a challenge. I get to do these things that I didn't go to school for and I'm learning and all this. And when I really look back now, I was like, no, I was burning myself out. It was terrible.
Yeah.
And now that I've freed myself to be back in that visionary spot and the CMO is going to do what he loves to do and knows how to do and the fractional CFO, like it's been night and day of just kind of what you're saying, like right people, right seats. And I'm not up late at night doing research on something that I know nothing about and then trying to apply it, which thank God for AI these days. It's my lawyer, it's my dictionary, it's my everything. So that's
No.
been super helpful.
AI's come a long way, and a lot of it has to do with the prompting. The prompting is a huge
Yeah.
part of it. I spent about say maybe 2 hours or so training it up on how I wanted it to provide me with prep for my guests' information on the podcast, and so I trained it to look up background information on the guest and provide me with a bullet point list of certain areas that the guest has expertise in that I can ask questions about and things like that. It's very helpful.
So do you
Unfortunately,
have like is it like a little agent that you send out and do
yeah,
things?
kind of like in the chat, it learns how you want things done.
Yeah.
You tell it, like, first you get it to do what you want it to do, like at least give you a basic synopsis of the person's, maybe their LinkedIn or whatever it can find online. And then once you have that, then okay, now I want you to make that into a Word doc for me. That way I can make edits to it. There was a gentleman I was talking to the other day about that's a fractional C-suite exec over at hospitals for temporary, should say temporary fractional C-suite executive over at hospitals. He just sold his company, so he didn't want me to introduce him as the company name, as so and so of this company, because he just sold it.
Yep.
And so on his LinkedIn, he still has the company name. So I had to edit the Word doc, but it's nice having the bullet points there to be able to reference. Unfortunately, the links sometimes get broken. I don't know why it does that. Have you seen that before?
Yeah, like when I ask it for like a journal article or research or something, like what's the latest research on this specific thing or something, it will give me the article, which actually, if you can find the article is saying what it says it's saying, which is nice. But the link to the article is almost never correct. So then you're on like Google Scholar or somewhere, or hoping that you can still get into like your old college library one and trying to look up these articles. But yeah, the links are not great. And absolutely with the prompting, like, I've trained it, like, "Don't give me bullshit, don't give" sorry, can you swear? Sorry.
No, you're
Um,
you're good. This is for
be like
adults only. This is not for the
okay.
kiddies.
Be, like, brutally honest and
Yeah,
think like, and I've listed the people that I want them to think like or talk like, and actually
yeah.
my favorite one, this is a very personal one, not very personal, but I've trained it to be who is the chef that's, like, super mean? I think he's British.
Yes. Oh my god, what name's
It's
escaping
great.
me right Hell's Kitchen, Gordon Ramsay.
Gordon Ramsay, yeah. So now it speaks to me whenever I ask it a recipe, it will speak to me like Gordon Ramsay, and I just can't get enough of it.
Oh my god, that's fantastic. I'm gonna have to remember that. That is great.
Yeah.
Do you ever listen to Dan Martell?
No, I've never heard of him.
I'll connect with me on LinkedIn. I sent you an invite the other day, but I'll send you a couple of his videos. Dan Martell, you even if you don't try to like learn or implement the information, I think your brain might find it fascinating. He has so many just phenomenal ideas. He gets a lot into like AI and things like that in business. One of the tips he gave the other day, and I don't remember the wording exactly, but something to the effect of you want it to be brutally honest. You don't want it to basically sugarcoat things because when it sugarcoats things, it becomes like a yes man. It's not giving you honest. Here you go. So you go into the settings, you go to custom instructions, you say, be my ruthless mentor. If my ideas are trash, tell me why. You need to stress test everything and get things to the point where it's bulletproof.
Mhm.
That setting in there has changed the way that I am able to interact with ChatGPT because it's not giving me just bullshit fluff. Like
Yeah.
and if I tell it, oh, hey, what do you think about this idea? It's not going, oh, yeah, Wes, you're so awesome. Like, oh,
Yeah.
I'm so glad I'm here talking to you, Wes. Give me more of your brilliant ideas. No, it's saying, well, that's not a bad idea, but you know what's a better idea is this. Let's extend your idea and include this. We're having it franchising our IT concept, and we were up in Maryland last week training that franchisee, but I was showing him some of the stuff in ChatGPT and what an effect this has had on it. Being able to go in there, I had it review today, for example, our franchise presentation. I said, hey, I need some honest feedback about our franchise presentation. Is this really hitting the mark or is it missing the mark? So we have several presentations we do, and I wanted to make sure the concept compatibility, which is our first actual slide deck that we go through, was conveying the information we really need to convey in a concise manner to a potential franchisee. And you really want to, at that point, weed them out. Like, this is going to be a good potential franchisee if they continue forward, or this is going to be a bad one, and kind of separate those two right at the beginning so you don't waste anybody's time. Nobody wants to waste time.
Yeah.
We get a client like, hey, client, are you going to come in? Or are you going to be honest and share with me what's going on in your life? And then are you going to listen to my recommendations, or are you just going to let it go in one ear and out the other and never do the homework I give? Right. So those are, I mean, it's probably good to get paid by the client one way or the other because you're still going to send them a bill at the end, whether they do the work or not.
Yeah.
But you want to be able to help people and make an impact on their life. So we want to weed out the bad potential franchisees and only keep the good ones and continue the conversations with the good ones. And it also prompted us with like red flags. If somebody's asking these questions in the first, presentation, they're probably not going to be a good franchisee. And then helping me move some of that data that we had in that first slide deck over to the second one. Should be very high level in the first one,
Yeah.
but all of that is based on the prompt. Like when you engineer that prompt to really be very, very specific on what you're trying to get out of it, that's when it really shines, like it really
Yeah.
does. What
I
stuff
would
do you
add
use it for?
I would add in that prompt. So I have something very similar for my industry anyway. I have it added in like evidence-based or based on research only, and then it's giving me all of the citations after basically any thing that it gives me. And then the other one, at least for like some of my business stuff, I have put in all of the company values and our vision and our mission. And so then I say, and align it with these things. And if I'm steering off, I want you to basically call me out on if I'm steering away from vision or company's values or different things like that, which has been so helpful. And then
And
there's
where
a
are you
couple
putting that?
other
Is it that in
that's
custom
in,
instructions or what?
yeah.
Okay.
I have like a bunch of different projects. So I have, I don't know, like an SOP project. I don't even know. Now my mind is blanking. And it's funny, I have like a comically big screen right here that I could tap into. But yeah, so in each of the projects, I put in like basically what their role is. So if it's any like contract stuff, I'm gonna say like you're this type of lawyer. And I copy paste everything that you put plus company values, plus base it on research, essentially. So I have the different ones on all the different projects. And then I also have put it in like the main brain or whatever for ChatGPT. But I'm ChatGPT. I use Centra.ai, which is like a whole little team of agents. And then I
Hmm.
also have the Motion app, which is my calendar, but it will move things around based on you adding things or taking things off of your calendar. And then if you pay extra, which I played with it for a little bit, I didn't end up keeping it, but I might go back to it. It will take notes on all of your meetings and then give you feedback from like a kind of like the guy that you interviewed from a C-suite perspective, a business coach, and say, hey, here's how you could have improved that meeting. Here's where you did well. Here's who was interrupting. Here's like all of the things. It was
Wow.
amazing feedback. I really liked it. So there's just so much out there of things that you can do. And again, for me, I didn't go to school for business. It has been so helpful in my business development and like how to be a leader, how to be a boss, how to be a business owner, all of the things. It's been really, really
It's great that you have
helpful.
that thirst for knowledge. That's important. If you just go through the motions every day and don't wanna expand your mind, that's not
Yeah,
great,
I don't
but
know. I mean, you tell me, as a business owner, I think that kind of is par for the course. Like, I haven't met many other business owners that aren't hungry for knowledge, that are set in their ways. I mean, maybe if they're on their way out, they're retiring, but most other entrepreneurs that I talk to kind of have that curiosity or that the drive to how do I make this better or more efficient or how do I make more money from this? I don't know.
yeah, no, I agree with you. I think that's very prevalent. A good friend of mine, Heather, she owns a marketing firm, and we always bounce ideas back and forth off each other, and we appreciate each other's honest input because I know she's not going to feed me a line of BS like, "Oh yeah, you're so awesome, Wes," or "Well, do the same," you know. And she has a problem with a client, or she has a question about how she should approach a situation. We're able to bounce those ideas back and forth, and we're always learning from each other and our experiences, good or bad. She owns that marketing firm, and I was telling her the other day about, hey, there's maybe some potential ways you can get your name out there. And I was telling her about how we're doing the podcast. It's great to expand your sphere of influence, meet new people. Like we naturally meet people through networking events and things like that, right? Or an introduction from a existing client or something like that. You don't really get out there. And I've met so many interesting people on these podcasts that I am really looking forward to that call with the gentleman, Jordan, that was on right before we did a pre-podcast call right before this, and kind of discussing the background and hearing his story, hearing some of the applications he's developed. He's very much in giving back to the community. He talks about they donate a lot, if not all, of their proceeds to charities. His wife started a meal prep for friends of theirs that had kids, and they were having difficulty, with newborn, getting out to the grocery store and cooking healthy meals. So easy just to fall in this trap of like getting fast food. It's, I got the kid, and the kid kept me up till 4 in the morning, and I'm so tired. I just want to go get Wendy's or whatever.
Yeah.
That's not great. You're already under so much stress with a newborn, and then you're piling on top bad eating habits. That's just going to be like,
Mhm.
you're going to pack on pounds like no one's business. And so she was
Yeah.
meal prepping for these friends of theirs and actually turned it into a business. So it's
That's
good to
great.
hear about other people being in a line of business that helps people either with their diet or with their health, or, you with your helping people with their mental health. I think that's fantastic.
Mhm.
There needs to be more attention to mental health in this country. There's not enough. One of my other guests, I said, you hear all these stories about these unfortunate incidents in the news of, so and so shot this person or shot that person or whatever. And it's like, what led that person to that point? And I'm sure if you were to dig into it more, you would see a ton of warning signs leading up to that, that unfortunately were probably just ignored. And now that somebody's dead, now it's a problem. Like, oh, we need to look
Right.
into it. And it's just like lock the guy up because, what do
Yeah.
you do? We don't pay attention to mental health enough. And
Yeah. Well, it's mental health, but it's so many other factors, and I could go on. This is actually what my dissertation was on, was looking at protective factors versus risk factors of people who uh, perpetrate sexually. There's like the confluence model is a big model that talks about basically like 10 to 12 risk factors that the more compounded that they are, the more likely it is for someone to be sexually violent. So my dissertation was all about, that's cool that we know the risk factors and we know that it's kind of bound to happen, but like what are we doing to create more protective factors, and how are we cutting off the like this from happening versus there's a ton of funding and a ton of attention on, well, it happened and now what? And certainly serving different survivors or victims of different violence. And that's great. And we definitely need that. But we also need to like stop it and like put a stop in the hole kind of thing.
right,
So yeah, like there's just so much you could do around. There's mental health. I mean, there's financial health, there's intergenerational stuff that's just cultural, getting handed down. There's all sorts of things that could be looked at. So it's from a systems perspective, it's kind of like where do you start? But we do have to start somewhere, I think.
for sure. What's kind of, if you had a favorite success story of one of your clients where there was somebody that was just, having a really difficult time and you were able to counsel with them and help
Yeah.
get them pointed in the right direction, what would that story sound like?
There's a lot. So I'm gonna I'll compound some of them into one kind of arc, but ultimately when clients come in and they always think it's kind of the other person, and again, I work with a lot of couples, and so they're kind of thinking like, don't need to change, it's the other person. So the first part of that is like helping them to see actually you're more empowered than you think that you are. Like putting blame on someone else really is disempowering. And so once you can take a step back and look at what role do I play in this? And sometimes it's so like it's hard to say like, oh, actually I'm enabling that behavior. And if I just said yes or no or something, I shifted a little bit, then that would change drastically what's going on over here. So it's about helping them feel more empowered, that they have more control over their situation, and then getting them to kind of move into that. So I've got, and or for people who unfortunately their brains blocked out trauma. Like I've had several clients who maybe had like an inkling or something that there was maybe a sexual trauma or a childhood trauma, but they couldn't quite put a label on it or name it, or like they knew something was there. So getting them to be able to realize like what some of that was and remembering some of that in the safety net of the therapeutic process, and really giving them a space to process through those past experiences. And then on the outset, usually it's sex that gets the client in the door and it's sex that gets the client out of the door. So when there's desire discrepancies or there's a sexual functioning issues, that's what's making them pick up the phone. But when you do some digging, there's so many other layers. And so helping them peel back the layers. But then when they're ready to discharge, they're back in a space where they have total control over their penis, vulva, vagina. They have their desires are magically more aligned, or they're both able to navigate and they're having sex. Those are always super wins in my book of like kind of starting here, going deep dive into something and then coming out for fresh air and usually having more sex with it too. So that's pretty cool.
Great. How long have you been doing this?
So I've been in the field since 2010. I opened my practice in 2017. So I guess, yeah, we're coming up. It'll be 10 years next year, which is crazy to think about.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. What if you could go back and tell your younger self one thing that could help you get farther along quicker, what would it be?
Yeah, and actually I'm creating like a whole, I don't know, package around this, or I want to start doing webinars and trainings for like entrepreneurs and different things. But you can only lead as well as you've ever led yourself. And until you can do that introspective work and understand kind of where you're blocks are, where your expertise are, where all of that, then that's all going to come out in how you lead. I was aware that I was kind of a passive person for various reasons. I'm a people pleaser, but I didn't think that that came out in my business, and it absolutely did. And then I found EOS, and then I got really cleared up on like, these are the things to do, but I still felt like a hesitancy in that, and so I really had to do some work on, like, the passivity and, like, an anxious attachment style, so once I did some, like, internal, like, shadow work, the deeper stuff, my leadership got a lot better, my business stabilized, like, there's just so much that comes out of when you stabilize yourself, the world around you also stabilizes.
Really does. I may have to read that book.
It's great, and I don't have it here, I have it in my office. I've got What the Heck is EOS, which is another good one, but yeah, I can't say enough about EOS. It has really done wonders for me personally as a leader, but also just our company.
That's awesome. If I had to go back and tell my younger self one thing that would have helped me in earlier stages of business, it would have been to get a better accountant sooner.
Well, yeah, that one's I'm now on my let's see, I'll be on my fifth accountant this tax season. So TBD if this is the one. She's a trained therapist and she is a CPA. So I'm hopeful she's going to understand our business, but yeah, accountants are I don't know.
Or to find a good one. The one I was using before, they were just very, you know, high level, like they didn't dig into anything. They didn't try to fish for deductions or anything like that. I was just like, oh, these are your bank statements. This is your QuickBooks information, and just kind of slap it together and probably spent like 30 minutes putting it. I could have probably done a better job, honestly.
Yeah.
But I was like, no, I need to have an accountant do it, but just a better accountant.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't let that go
Honestly,
on too long.
CFO has been super helpful for me. I think I was expecting the CPA to do a lot of the CFO stuff. And while he's not as well versed in what you're talking about, like tax deductions, he does bring that to conversations sometimes of just be aware of this. Or, hey, I don't know what this is, but go look it up. So it's nice to just have that.
Right. So you have a fractional CFO, right?
Yeah. And I have hired CPAs that have said, we're CPA CFO. We weren't. This having a pure CFO has been night and day for us as well. And just like going, it's nice to go to him and say, hey, here's what I want. I want to take my leadership team to a training. Here's what I think it would cost. Like, is that in the budget? And he does his thing and says, well, if you do this, then you probably can't do this. And he puts out the choices and kind of runs the numbers and it's really been super helpful in navigating choices.
Yeah, that's awesome. I'll
Yeah.
definitely take that advice and start reading EOS. I've heard good things about it. Some of my buddies have read it as well, so they said it's good. Probably a
Yeah.
good read.
There's another one too, which I'm not gonna be able to remember the name, but, like, when I was choosing, it was either EOS or this other one, and obviously I went with EOS, but I've heard good things about the other one. I think just the way I was thinking about it or could understand it, EOS made more sense to my brain, and I wish I could think of the other one, but definitely having just, like, an outline for how to run your business is very helpful,
Yeah, that's
and then,
awesome.
yeah, having the right people in the right seats. Yeah, accountants are and you don't know until you're in there and you've already paid them and another tax year has come and gone and you're like, "But wait, that wasn't what I needed."
No, not at all. Not at all. What softwares, technologies, and or automations do you use in your day-to-day business?
So it's tough with us because we have to stay HIPAA compliant, which means a lot of encryption and, just a lot of protection. We have to pay for whatever, platforms and things, they have to be HIPAA compliant, and a lot of places, like a CRM doesn't touch HIPAA compliancy because it's too complex, so I've built out my own CRM well, I didn't, I hired it, but it was my idea to build out the CRM on Go High Level, which does have HIPAA compliancy. And
Yeah.
then we have our EHR, which is a electronic health record, which we have that on Jane. And then we use Google Workspace for most other things. And then I obviously have my AI little bots that are my minions for things.
I like that.
And that's really it. And maybe I run my practice too simplistic, but there's like we are in the care industry. We're not really in the business industry. And yes, we are a business. So we do have to do marketing and other things like that. But we can keep it really simple, which is something that's nice for our industry. We don't have to have crazy overhead. if we don't want it. Honestly, the overhead is paying for the clinicians, which we are underpaid. There's that, but so
Yeah,
yeah,
that's
we
one
only
of the
really go ahead.
yeah, that's one of the problems when you get into owning your own business is you do twice the amount of work for half the pay a
Oh
lot of
yeah,
times.
yeah.
Not all the
It's
time, but a lot.
interesting. I don't think any of my employees have this way of thinking right now, but I definitely could feel some tension of just like them thinking that I was just rolling in the dough, driving a Mercedes Benz or something. But like I drive a Honda Pilot and I don't know. Yeah. There's been times like you skip a paycheck or you do what you need to keep the business afloat.
Yep.
And you hope one day that will pan out. I mean, you said like for the last 7, 8 years, but you've been in the industry for 20. So yeah, it takes a while to get that flow going. And again, I think having the right people guiding that in areas that maybe you don't have those expertise. So if it's an accountant or marketing or fill in the blank, but definitely kind of recognizing this is not my cup of tea, so let someone else handle it.
Yep. Oh, that's great. Speaking of people handling things, what do the little minions do for you, the little Sintra AI bots? I've heard of them before, but I've never used them.
Yeah, so I use the copywriting one a lot to help with like blog posting. There's an SEO one, there's a web designer. So every once in a while I'll just have them go on and create my website and say, "Hey, how is it? Where do I need to improve?" And I'll make little tweaks. The two I use well, three. There's three I use the most. There's a business development one, Buddy, and he is the one who gives really great feedback basically on like you should have done this in that meeting or why did you say this, that was your I've trained it like I don't want to be passive, so train me on how to not be passive or be more assertive. And so it will pick out line for line and say you could have said it this way instead and that would have
Right.
given you a different outcome. Then there's a virtual assistant one that will go through emails or different things if I need it to, but I that one's tricky because Cintra's not HIPAA compliant, so I can't have it on my email. And then there's a personal assistant. So that's the one where I'm like flowing through all of my family's recipes or thinking about balancing different like vacations versus appointments versus all of that. So it's nice to have it kind of broken up. Like in ChatGPT, I was having all these projects, but they were like jumbling all together and I didn't
Hmm.
have my brain.
So if you could wave a magic wand,
I love this
what's
question.
something that you would want technology to do today that it currently does it for you to help improve either your day-to-day life and business or your employees?
Can I do my payroll? That's my kryptonite. I hate running payroll. Um, let's see. I think like bigger tasks. And I know it's out there. I think I would just have to explore it a little bit more, but automating more of the marketing side of things. Like my CMO is great, but he's fractional. So he's only giving me so many hours a week. And I know with
Right.
marketing, the more the merrier. So yeah, having something to do better marketing for me.
Get more clients in the door, or what's your end goal with that?
Yeah, I think just always putting our name out there, getting more clients, having my clinicians have a full caseload. I think at least from the team that I have right now, they're very much there's like a theory, Yerkes Dotson, where if you're understimulated and you're overstimulated, you don't do your greatest work. But like there's a bell curve of like the perfect level of stimulation. So whenever caseloads dip, I start to notice like the notes start to fall behind and the tasks and everything. So keeping them on their in that, like,
In
perfect
your
realm
ideal,
is
yeah.
yeah, and I
Interesting.
think too, just, like, they're sharper, I know for myself, like, I do better therapy when I've got back-to-back clients versus, like, a one-off hour session, and then I'm going back and doing admin, like, when you're in the zone, you're really in the zone with
Yep.
therapy, and so just making sure that my clinicians, 1, are getting paid because they have a full caseload, but 2, they're staying sharp, they're, like, in it and ready for the clients, I think is gonna serve the clients much better.
No, that's awesome. Well, if our listeners wanted to get a hold of you, how would they do that? What's the best way to reach
Yeah.
out to either you to get in contact directly or your clinic?
Yeah, so all of our information's on our website, which is the Better You Institute, and it's all spelled out. So THE Better and then YOU institute.com. And then if they wanted to reach out email, they could do client care at the Better You Institute. We're also on most of the social medias, LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram. We're toying with TikTok, so we'll see where that goes. And the handle is all at the Better You Institute.
Okay. Nice. Well, I really appreciate all your time today. And again, our guest, Natasha, Dr. Natasha Strait, and
Yeah, this was
Recover
fun.
You Institute. I really appreciate your time today. Hopefully, if any of our listeners have any questions or need any help, they can reach out to you.
Yeah,
And thank you,
absolutely.
everyone, for listening today. And hope everyone has a great rest of their week.
Thank you.